Hey, what's up, what to do, y'all? It's just truly Mr. PSA. I am the public Sony's announcements on Instagram. I am Sony Reviewed It on YouTube. Today, we are headed to Australia. Let's get into this video and see what we can learn about Australia.
13 things to know before you go to Sydney, Australia. I'm Chris, this is Yellow Productions, and I do videos to help you travel intelligently, comfortably, and affordably. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to get into Sydney, how to get around, what to eat, what to do, where to stay, and even when to come. All right, let's get right into it. The first thing to know is just some general information about Sydney. Sydney is located on the southeastern coast of Australia. It's the capital of New South Wales. Sydney is considered one of the most diverse cities in the world, with more than 40% of the population here originally hailing from outside Australia. While Sydney originally started life as a British prison colony, it's now most well known for its amazing harbour, magnificent beaches, delicious cuisine, all wrapped up in a modern city with classic British roots that remains distinctly Australian. All these things combined make Sydney one of the world's most popular tourist destinations. The second thing to know is just a little bit of information to help you get oriented around Sydney. Life in Sydney revolves around the harbour, and Sydney is often nicknamed the Harbour City. Now, the downtown area is known as the Central Business District, and really a lot of the major attractions you'll be interested in as a visitor to Sydney are in the Central Business District. There's the city centre, which is the part that has all the high-rise buildings, but just next to the city centre over to the west is the Rocks. This is the colonial start, and this is where the Bay Bridge is and some of the city's oldest bars. This area where I'm standing right now, this is Darling Harbour. Darling Harbour is also home to the Wildlife Zoo, Madame Tussauds, the Maritime Museum, the Sydney International Convention Centre, and of course, a really neat Ferris wheel right over there. To the west of Darling Harbour is City West. This is home to Sydney's fish markets, many more maritime-themed spots, and Sydney's major casino, the Star Casino. To the south is City South. You'll find Haymarket, Chinatown, the Central Station area with lots of markets, cafes, Chinese culture, and some cheaper accommodation and shopping in this neighbourhood. Now, over to the east, you'll find King's Cross, Woolloomooloo, and Moore Park. You'll find busy nightlifes, coffee shops, fashion, and entertainment by day. And of course, Sydney is also famous for its beaches. There's over 100 of them here, but I'll talk more about Sydney's beaches in section number 6. The third thing to know is how to get into Sydney. If you're flying in, then chances are you'll be landing at Sydney International Airport. It is 10 kilometers to the south of the city center. There's about 40 airlines that fly into there. Qantas is the major carrier that flies into Sydney Airport. A couple ways to get into the city. There's certainly buses, there's certainly taxis, but I think the best way, if you're staying in the Central Business District, is to take the train. It takes like 15 minutes from the airport into the city center. That's what I did today. It costs you 19 Australian dollars. If it's a few of you, maybe take a taxi or an Uber because you could save some money. But if it's just one, do the train. Pretty solid, fast and efficient. Now, if you're already in Australia, you could take a train into Sydney's Central train station, which happens to be close to Chinatown. If you come from Melbourne in the south, it'll take you 11 and a half hours. From Brisbane in the north, it'll take you 13 hours. You can even take a train from Perth on the west coast. That's going to take you 4 days. And if you need to stow your bags someplace, Sydney's Central Station has a convenient baggage storage area where you can store large suitcases for $15 for same-day pickup or $24 for next-day pickup. Another option, if you really don't have all that much money, you can take a bus into Sydney. Right below the Central train station is the Sydney Coach Terminal, where you'd arrive if you're taking a long-distance bus like Greyhound. If you're coming in by cruise ship, you'll be coming into one of 2 cruise ship piers here in Sydney. One is the White Bay Cruise Terminal. It's about 6 kilometers away from the city center. Or this pier, which is the Overseas Passenger Terminal, it is right at Circular Quay. So if you're picking between cruises and you see that one of them docks at the Overseas Passengers Terminal, that's the better one. Now, the fourth thing to know is about getting around Sydney, and I mentioned it's a harbour city, so the coolest way to get around Sydney is on the harbour. There are tons of ferries that'll take you almost anywhere you want to go on the harbour. Right now, I'm on one of the ferries in Darling Harbour, but
A bit of advice for all of us travelers going international. My biggest thing, I'm going to give you guys the best advice as a person who works in the airline industry. I would say always ask questions. I don't care where you're going in the world, let it be Africa, Asia, India, Europe, Australia. Ask questions. I don't want you guys to assume that when you're traveling, you want to use your GPS. I'm not saying use your GPS is bad, but you are in a different country. Things work differently. Just ask somebody. If you ask somebody a question, it does not mean that you are dumb. To me, it actually means you're smart, because if you don't ask questions, one false move in any of these countries, you could be lost. You could be in a bad part of the neighborhood. So all I'm saying is, if you are traveling anywhere, the wisest thing you can do is just ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
The city's hub of ferries is at Circular Quay over by the Opera House. From there, you can take ferries to the Taronga Zoo across the way, to Manly Beach, and all the way down to the Olympic Park. And you can almost treat these public ferries as a sightseeing cruise. And one of the neat things is, in addition to buying tickets, you get these rechargeable Opal cards to go on, but you don't even need that. You can actually just use, if you have a credit card, a Visa or MasterCard that has the tap feature, you can use those to tap on and tap off any of the ferries, which also works on the trains that we're going to talk about here next. One of the coolest ferry routes for sightseeing is definitely the one that goes from Darling Harbor to Circle Quay or vice versa. It takes 15 minutes. It takes you underneath the Sydney Harbor Bridge. It takes you by the Opera House. So if you're short on time, this one takes you by the big attractions and only costs a few Australian dollars. Now, Sydney also has a pretty good rail transit network. As a visitor, you'll probably be most interested in the City Circle Loop. It's a train that basically runs in a circle around the central business district. You'll also find some useful light rail services as well. With your Opal card, you can tap on and tap off, or again with your Visa or MasterCard, tap on, tap off. That's what I do here. Now, if you're taking the light rail, because it's just kind of open here, there's no gates, where you tap in and tap off are at these readers right at the side of the station. Remember to tap off so it knows how much to charge you too. There are 3 light rail lines. L2 and 3 go from Central up to Circular Quay, and then L1 will bring you over to the Star Casino and the Fish Market. Of course, my favorite way to get around Sydney is to walk, and what's kind of cool if you're walking is there are all these signs around Sydney that tell you where you are and where things are, tell you how to get to Central Station, tell you how to get to the Capitol Theatre. In the age of Google Maps, this is still really convenient to know that.
Looking at the video, you can see right here under the letter, it's got a QR code. A lot of the times when you go to these countries, like Chris is saying in the video, most countries are up to date with technology. So as you can see, I'm pointing my cursor right there. There's a QR code. What the QR code does basically is you take your phone, right? You take your phone, you scan it on there, and something will appear on your phone. And once it appears on your phone, you just click on it. If it's a map that will just guide you to where you're going. Like I told you guys earlier, if you're going in a different country, it's your first time, you're not sure, I would not advise you to walk. I would not advise you to try to find a way, because like I said, one false move, you can end up somewhere that's bad, and definitely don't want something bad happening to you guys.
You're on the right path. By the way, when you're walking in Sydney, make sure you look both ways before you cross the street. They even have some things in the crosswalk often to remind you. It'll say like, look left, look right. Just look both ways, because cars might be coming from the wrong direction rather than where you expect if you're used to cars driving on the right. Sydney has a pretty good bus network, particularly useful if you're going down to Bondi Beach. You could also ride bikes around Sydney. It's a really bikeable Sydney. If you didn't bring a bike, most people don't, there's plenty of bike share bikes strewn around. I've seen a lot of the Lyft bikes hanging out around the city. You could rent a car, but not really going to be useful for the city center. Parking is expensive, hard, really only useful if you're going around the suburbs or going between cities. But if you do rent a car, please don't speed. They use tons of speed cameras here, not just like ones at a point in time, but they also average your speed over a distance, so drive the speed limit if you are renting a car. Please. I found taxis and rideshare to be plentiful in Sydney, but I did find Uber sometimes forcing me to come to dedicated pickup and drop-off zones. Pudo in Bondi Beach is pickup and drop-off. That's a new one to me. Now, the fifth thing to know is about what to eat, and Sydney has an amazing international food scene, but in particular, Sydney is super well known for breakfast and brunch options. It seems like you find a pancake restaurant on about every corner. The other thing Sydney is really known for is its Chinatown. Sydney has the largest Chinatown in all of Australia, and really, it's an Asia town of all sorts of Asian cuisine. But my favorite Asian cuisine in Sydney is Malaysian cuisine, and particularly at this place, Mamak. They specialize in roti. This is basically like a pulled flatbread, and I've also got some mee goreng, thank you very much, that's delicious noodles right here, a spicy noodle. This place is super busy, so make sure you come right when they open, otherwise you're going to be waiting a long time. And make sure you get the Malaysian tea. This is the tea tarik. It has a frothy top. It's sweet and hot and delicious, but this roti, you can see them making it out in the window. It's the roti that everybody's here for, and on the dish here, it comes with a dal lentil, fish curry, and some chili sambal, some spicy chili. I got a couple extra of those to take back home. Delicious. Let's dive into the meat goreng right here. It just came out of the kitchen. It's hot. The noodles are just the right amount of kind of spongy and chewy, and it definitely has a good kick to it. Okay, I decided to say this outside because it was a little too loud in there, and you can see here making the roti in the background. So for dessert, I got the sendal, which was super delicious. It looks kind of weird. These are noodles made of pandan leaves, which makes them green, served with coconut milk and ice, and it was just really good. But I want to point out, ordering in Sydney restaurants, including this one, there's a QR code on the table, and so you need your cell phone to be able to order.
And this is what I was mentioning to you guys earlier when Chris was talking about the maps about 3 minutes ago. This right there is basically a QR code. You literally just take your phone. You have to have Wi-Fi, connect to the Wi-Fi, scan it, and you can see their menu. You can order your food. A lot of countries, including the US, Asia, Africa, Europe, Australia, they're moving to a QR code just because it's more quicker. Instead of having somebody come and talk to you, you just get there. If you know what you want, order the QR code, the food will be brought to you.
There, if you don't have a cell phone, they do take orders up at the cash register. You tell them your table number, and then they bring the food out. But this is something I'm seeing more and more often, is the pay ahead and then get your food, and it's kind of nice because then you can leave right at the end and you're not trying to look for a bill and, you know, taking 10 more minutes to leave. So I like that trend.
Another really excellent Malaysian spot in Sydney is Hojak. They've got two locations. This one's in Chinatown, and I came here for the laksa. Laksa is a Malaysian soup that's spicy with a coconut base and two types of noodles, egg noodles and rice noodles, two types of meat, chicken and shrimp, and this one quite delicious. For dessert, I topped it off with the tea tarik affogato ice cream, which has that little coffee thing on the side. You pour it on, you eat it for a little bit while the ice cream's hard, and then you drink it. And of course, to wash it all down, I didn't have enough iced Malaysian tea, so I got an iced Malaysian tea. Anyway, this is another super solid Malaysian spot in Sydney.
Guys, if you're traveling international, the best thing about traveling international is the food. Food culture is everything. One thing you'll notice is when you travel international nowadays, you have everybody living in different countries. If you go to somewhere like Australia, there's a lot of Asians, there's a lot of Africans, there's a lot of Latinos, there's a lot of whites. It's mixed race. If you go to Europe, same thing. It's mixed race. I think it's a good thing because wherever you go, where everybody is mixed race, you get a better varieties. As you can tell, Chris has been eating a lot of good food, a lot of pastries. So once you go there, be careful. If you're a person like me where you're lactose intolerant, you probably can't eat a lot of dairy. And a lot of the food that Chris was having definitely had dairy in it, which for me, I can't have dairy because if I have dairy, I have to go to the bathroom every 30 seconds, and it's not the best thing. So if you know you have a dairy problem or you can't eat a certain food, before ordering food, just ask them. Ask the person at the register, hey, question for you. I can't have this kind of food. What can I do? So I'm going to leave the link to the full video for Chris being in Sydney, Australia. Unfortunately, I'm only doing 10 minutes of the video, but I will leave the link to Chris's video in the description below. This is 5 things you could do in Sydney, Australia, including food, visiting on a boat show, museum. So go ahead and enjoy Australia. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you like about the video. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe to the channel as we continue to grow on our way to 1 million subscribers. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, goodbye, world.